Can I have a roll call, please? Here. Here. Thank you. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. Oh, okay. Approval of the agenda. Vicky, do we have any amendments?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Do I have any discussion or a motion? Susan? Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes. New business. Recommendation on ordinance number 2021 hasn't been assigned yet. An ordinance for Santa Fe County Sustainable Land Development Code amendment. Nathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On August 10th, 2021, the Santa Fe Board of County Commissioners authorized a request to publish title and general summary by unanimous decision vote of 5-0 per the SLDC. Public hearings of this item must be reviewed by the Planning Commission and taken back to the board for a final decision on the ordinance amendment. If a decision is rendered during the public hearing scheduled for this item, the proposed ordinance would take effect 30 days after recordation of the board's final decision, which is scheduled to be heard on September 14th, 2021. Background. On April 13th, 2021, the Santa Fe Board of County Commissioners approved a request to amend the previously approved and master planned Oshara subdivision through a conceptual plan amendment procedure. The newly approved Oshara conceptual plan amendment is within the Santa Fe County Community College Plan Development District. The requested conceptual plan amendment included the removal of an employment center and an institutional campus zone, as well as replacing previously approved zones with a village zone. These changes triggered the requirement to complete an SLDC text amendment to Appendix F of the Sustainable Land Development Code. This needs to be done prior to the applicant being able to proceed forward with preliminary and final plat submittals for the Oshara subdivision. Overview of the proposed ordinance. The proposed SLDC text amendment of Appendix F Map 3 inevitably triggered the need to also amend Appendix F Map 2, which is the circulation map for the Santa Fe County Community College District. It is in the public's interest to update both Appendix F Map 2 and 3 to ensure proper build-out of the Oshara Master Plan subdivision, as well as maintain consistency within the Santa Fe County Community College Planned Development District. Therefore, the provided amendment to the SLDC is being requested in order to establish comprehensive zoning and proper build-out, as well as traffic circulation related to development within the Santa Fe County Community College District. This amendment is also to ensure that development is done sustainably and in the spirit of the SLDC and SGMP. You've been provided exhibits of the existing map for Map 2, the circulation, and Map 3, the CCD zoning map, as well as what is proposed to be amended. Staff recommends approval of the proposed ordinance and that the Santa Fe County Commissioners be scheduled to take final action on the proposed ordinance to amend Appendix F, Maps 2 and 3 of the SLDC on September 14th, 2021. Mr. Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Does the commission have any questions of Nathan or staff? JJ?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a couple of questions. I had questions for the fire marshal, and also had questions about the changes from commercial or the the employment center to residential. How is that gonna, what is that gonna entail, like traffic, more population? Can you explain some of those things?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, as stated, the Board of County Commissioner reviewed the conceptual plan amendment back in April, and those things were looked at as far as, becoming, what we're here for today is simply to follow up on what's already been approved by the board. But those things have been vetted by staff, reviewed by staff, and ultimately approved by the board. But if you'd like, I can discuss those with you one-on-one, but what questions in particular do you have as far as traffic? Are you talking about the connector, or?
Well, when you have commercial development, you probably have traffic in the morning when they go to work, traffic in the evening when they leave. When you have residential, you have lots of traffic all day long. There's more people involved, probably. I thought there's going to be like 700 or 800 new homes. Eliminate a lot of the commercial buildings and replace them with residential houses. And I wondered how that was going to affect
Mr.
development.
Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, TIA was done as part of the conceptual plan amendment, and TIAs will also be required for future build-out of each phase for the Oshara conceptual plan, and we'll monitor that closely. But I think it's going to be okay once the new connector is installed and up and running. There will not be any traffic issues once that's completed.
The other question I had was, this subdivision was approved with a certain, water budget. And commercial usually uses a lot less water, mostly uses a lot less water because they're building things in their buildings. Residential uses a lot more water. How is that going to affect the treatment plant that they have there, and how is that going to affect their water budget overall?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, so part of the amendment was to actually upgrade the sewer system. And the applicant's going to do that. They're going to tie into the county system, and they'll also have county water. So those have also been looked at and addressed prior to this being brought forward to the commission.
So all of these issues that I'm asking, they've already been looked at.
Mr. Chair,
probably approved already.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, yes.
Staff did their homework on this.
Yes, sir.
The other question I had was for the fire marshal.
I'll pass it over. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah, the questions I had was, how is this going to impact the fire department as far as providing fire protection for like 700 or 800 homes when it was providing fire protection for some commercial developments? I mean, is there a big difference there between commercial fire protection or residential?
There is a big business difference for the fact of the structures, but we already have the roads laid out, there's going to be water, everything's going to be laid out for our access, and our structures are going to be smaller. Instead of dealing with large commercial, we're going to be dealing with individual family residences. So I don't feel that there's going to be a major impact for the fire and life safety.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair.
Those are all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, JJ. Anybody else have any questions? Staff? All right. Oh, Rhea, go ahead.
My question is also for staff, and I understand that the order has already been approved by the Board of County Commissioners, but I had seen reference an affordable housing agreement. So I was just curious about more details with regards to what type of affordable housing. Is it single-family home ownership, multifamily rentals? How many units? What is the income eligibility? Just some brief overview of, and that is on the order. It's listed as item number 22. Page 8.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Cerna, so as previously stated, all these, the Sustainable Land Development Code requires these things to be addressed per Chapter 7, the Sustainable Design Standards. The applicant did submit an amended affordable housing agreement from what was originally approved with Oshara. They also changed their phasing plan. So with that, it did trigger some additional affordable housing changes. For the most part, they're going to be single-family residential affordable units, and they will be distributed amongst each phase of the Oshara. There's going to be 9 phases in total, and each phase will require a separate affordable housing requirement, a max number of units that need to be affordable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I have a couple questions. Kind of along the same questions as JJ was going on. So obviously there's existing infrastructure out there. The question I have is that how is this change going to impact existing infrastructure? Like, for example, if they put utility lines in for a sewer line or a commercial, they're bigger lines. Water is probably a little bit different too. So are they going to go back in there and readjust, reconfigure utility lines and services, resize them?
Mr. Chair, I believe ultimately the changes to infrastructure is going to improve the area. As stated, they're eliminating some of the lift stations. There's going to be some upgrades to the roads through the connectors that are being done through the county, and those lines can be piggybacked off of future developments down the way along the community college district that runs on that stretch.
So, are they going to come back and get permits to do this additional work, or is that be part of the approval?
Mr. Chair, yes, so they need to still submit for preliminary and final plat. In order to do that, we need to do this SLDC text amendment. It was a condition that was imposed by the board. Once that condition's approved, and they can then come in for preliminary and final plat approval. And at that point, once they get that, they can apply for an infrastructure permit, and staff will look at those plans. So will the outside reviewing agencies and county review agencies. And at that point, we'll look at the infrastructure.
Okay. Also, are they gonna be required to upkeep the existing reclamation water line that's in their place? Are they're gonna keep that up to par as well?
Mr. Chair, that's outside my wheelhouse. I apologize. I could get an answer for you on that. Like I said, that'll likely be ironed out during the preliminary and final plat. We'll decide on easements and maintenance at that point.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff from the commission? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody out there that wants to speak on behalf or against this proposed ordinance? Do we have anybody on WebEx, Vicki?
Mr. Chair, it appears that the agent is calling in or tuning in through WebEx. She'll have to unmute herself on the computer in order to speak, and it looks like she's done that.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Jennifer Jenkins here this afternoon on behalf of Oshara. I'm happy to be sworn in if necessary, but I don't have anything to add. I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody, the commission, have any questions of Jennifer? I guess not.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anybody out there? Anybody else out there that wants to speak? Okay. What's the pleasure of the commission? JJ? We don't have a case number to cite to this yet?
Mr. Chair, that number will be assigned when the BCC approves the final version of the ordinance.
Mr. Chair, the Planning Commission has to make a recommendation of approval to the board, and ultimately the board will approve, make the final decision on the proposed ordinance, and then a number will be issued at that point for the ordinance.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What was that again?
So the Planning Commission's job today is strictly to recommend approval or render a decision for the proposed ordinance, because the board takes final action, and once final action is taken, an ordinance number will be designated.
Okay, so JJ, I guess your motion needs to be for
I move to approve,
Recommending?
yes. Ordinance 2021.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by JJ and seconded by Susan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, might it be appropriate to do a roll call for that vote?
Okay, yes. Would you please do a roll call?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Vicky, I did have a question for you. When I was going on the agenda, I printed my agenda that I printed at home, and then I got the packet now, and then Frank brought it to my attention that the one I printed at home didn't have consent agenda final orders on it.
Mr. Chair, that one, I believe, had been removed from the website, from the one on the website. There are no items under consent agenda final order, so there's nothing to be heard.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Petitions from the floor. Nope. Okay. Communications from the commission members. Okay. Communications from the attorney.
No communications from our office, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Matters from the land use staff.
Mr. Chair, we don't have any matters to address. Thank you.
Okay. Our next regularly scheduled planning commission meeting is September 16th, 2021. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Second. All in favor, say aye. 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 Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.